Hello, today I want to show you the game between Pragnanada and Magnus Carlsen. During the game I will try to explain you what they taught, and this is something new I think, and that is why welcome to the channel Different View of Chess. We're doing something different from others, so let's start. First, what Pragnanada played here is h4. And if you want, I can also write me on the comment. If you want, I can show you some other games with such move from totally different positions, but with the same idea. Let's try to see when it's time for that. So, for example, if the knight is on f3, then it's not good to push h5. But also, in some other positions, when the queen is not on d1, then we can play e5 first to kick the knight from that place and then to play h5. Depends on position, of course. But in this case, when the queen is holding that h5 square, or she can reach to that square, then it's now it's perfect time for that. And when black capture with the knight, probably it's better with the knight, not with the pawn, because then in some moment we can play e5 and the pawn will fall, and black didn't at least capture some material here. So now white probably should take, and after that we have less material, but we know that rooks are better in endgame. But this is not endgame, this is just opening for now, and that is why Pragnanada try with that. It's totally okay to sacrifice the rook for one piece and the pawn. So for the rooks, black needs open files. And now we will see how they fight. Magnus immediately started to shake with his head because he didn't want to enter in this. That is why. So of course now black is forced to be passive and to try to consolidate position, because as you can see, he can't castle anymore on the king side. That is first problem for him, so he needs to open his queen side somehow, and then to castle on the queen side, to escape with the king on the queen side. So we can expect that in the future. What we can expect from Pragnanada is to castle on the queen side also, and to try to attack where is the weakness. For now the pawn on f7 is a weak, h7 pawn could be also weakness, and we will see. Whenever we push some of our pawns, for example what happened in the game e6, now f6 could be a weakness. So whenever we push our pawns, we are taking some space, but also we are also leaving something for our opponent. Okay, so after e6 in the game was e5, which is good move because in the future we can attack this f6 square. And now d5. This pawn structure in the center is completely the same when we are playing French defense, but the bishop, the problem for black is then the bishop is on e7, or he's holding this diagonal. Why is that? Why that is important? Because then d6 square is not available for maybe for the knight or something like that. So that is why maybe black didn't capture here, which is probably better move. But if we take that, then the f6 square, maybe Carlsen afraid about that, so the knight can jump on f6, and also he can't push the pawns on the queen side. Probably with d5, that was his idea, to push c5 in some moment and to try to play on the queen side. So let's go further. So white castle, which is so normal move here. Then c5. Okay, and black is threatening now to play c4 and to take even more space on the king side, on the queen side, sorry. And we can't let him to do that. Of course, we must respond, and that is why d takes on c5. Then bishop d7. Bishop d7 is so important move because now the bishop is protecting a4 square. Take a look this square. So if black allow white to play knight a4 and then knight b6, that knight will be monster there, and then black can't castle anymore on the queen side. So one really important thing, maybe they didn't see that, they didn't notice that, we will see, but bishop d7 must be because of that. Also, of course, this is developing move, and in the future when he develop his pieces, he can castle on the queen side to escape with the king. Of course he needs to do that. Okay, then f4 to protect probably the pawn here. Maybe white didn't need that at the moment, maybe knight f3 before that, because time is running low now for white, because black wants to escape with the king. It's far away better to attack the pawn on f7 when the king is still in the center. So that is why maybe instead f4, maybe knight f3 with idea knight g5 immediately. Okay, then knight c6. And now Pragnata missed opportunity to play knight a4. And I will show you what could happen after knight a4. So still black can't castle, that was the problem now, that is the problem now. And after queen a5, of course we can play knight b6, and now the problem is he can't take the pawn. We are attacking the rook, and also this bishop is also vulnerable, because if we take him we can capture on f7 and the bishop will fall. So really bad position for black. So he must play rook d8, this is his only move. But then we can just play some simple move here, king b8, and we completely consolidate our position on the queen side. He can try with something, but yes, we can just move the pawn and nothing. Okay, so then must play move bishop f8 to control some dark squares, and also to try to take the pawn on c5, but then we can just develop our pieces, and all weakness on f7 now we can attack, especially now when the king is in the center. So bishop c5, knight g5, we don't need to pay attention about our bishop because we are threatening checkmate. And after rook f8 we can exchange and we can capture the pawn. Now knight f6, we already spoke about weak square on f6, now white can use that square. So maybe something like b4. I just want to show what could happen here when black king stay in the center. That is important. That is why knight a4 I think was so important move for white. Then we can just play c3, and maybe he will sacrifice here and then to take with tempo, but we don't need to pay attention about that. Knight f6 check, and then one lovely move, knight d5, still check, he must take, and when he takes we will capture. So now maybe we are threatening, but even better threat is here, so he must move the king, and when he moves the king, one really lovely move, super move I think, e6, and we will capture the queen in the next move. So the bishop is hanging, the knight is hanging, black position will fall apart. The king is in the center, he can't stay there, the center is completely open now. Okay, that could happen, but of course it's not easy to see that move. I mean, maybe it's logical move, because of course we can predict that black will escape with the king. So queen a5, and now we can't play anymore knight a4, of course. Knight g5, so logical move, but now black can escape with the king. Okay, we can't capture with the knight, I will show you that, because then bishop e8, and we don't have discover attack, because he can just sacrifice his rook and our queen is hanging. So we need to pay attention about that, so we must capture with the queen. Okay, Pragnata must take that pawn, because without that pawn, I mean, black can consolidate position and still he has more material, so we need to take back something. So queen f7, and then one really important move for black. We already spoke about open files for heavy pieces, so this is something what Carlsen needs. So that is why d4 is must playing move here. Okay, bishop takes, knight takes, and then queen g7. Instead of that, also white can play a rook takes on d4, but there is a move like something like a really nice move, bishop e5, and after f takes on e5, then rook from h to f8, and the bishop here is will fall because the queen, black must move the queen, but there is a one nice move, and that is rook d7. So white will sacrifice the queen. In return he has 3 pieces, and this is totally playable for both sides. So it should be a little bit better for white, but everyone has chance here. Okay, let's back to our position, but Pragnata captured the bishop here. And then knight f5. Knight f5, so the knight is not hanging anymore, and this is kind of tempo move because the knight is attacking the queen, and after that also black tried to involve his pieces in the game, so the rook is now active. Queen h5 and knight e3. Also, what we can notice here that Magnus is trying to simplify position. He wants to exchange. On the first look, knight e3 is so good move, but there is a respawn here with white. White can respawn here, and for example, rook e1 is not the best move here. So if we play a rook e1, then black can simply capture, and then the pawn here is hanging, and this is exactly what black wants, and that is to open a little bit position, and then rooks can work. So the best thing what white can do here is to sacrifice his rook. Again, I mean, first he sacrificed on h5, now he sacrificed on d7, but there is a really nice idea with that. So we will practically enter now in endgame, but also we can say that we have two pass pawns, just two pass pawns, but those two pawns are connected pass pawns, and we already have one of them on 5th rank, which is great. And that is why it's not that simple to play this position with black pieces. And now Magnus again did something what we can expect from him, and that is to exchange the queens, to force white to exchange the queens. He, if you want, you can check some of my previous lessons. I think I called that lesson for grandmasters, because Magnus is doing that a lot of time, and he's doing that because, of course, he's much more experienced player than Pragnanatha, and in endgame he has far away better chance, although he's probably the best in the world in endgames. So that is why knight d5, and after white captured that knight, first queen e1. He wants to exchange the queen, so he wants to provoke that. And we exchange here, and then okay, he must take the knight, and then king e2, rook g2. I must say that rook g2 is not the best move here for black, but it's hard to play what is the best here, and that is king d7. Why king d7 is the best move? The pawn on c5 is hanging now if white moves the knight. So practically with king d7 we want to provoke white to play bishop f5. And why black wants to provoke bishop f5? If we put our light pieces in front of our pawns, then we can't push the pawns. So logical thing. So that is why after bishop f5 now we can capture the pawn here and to enter in what Magnus played here. Okay, but Magnus played here rook g2, and then king f3, of course, tempo move. And after rook h2, a crucial mistake in the game for Pragnanatha. But let's try to see or to understand why Pragnanatha played here king g3 and why he didn't play king e4. After rook h2 and now the pawn on h file could go, and there is a support with that for that pawn. There is a rook on h2 who is supporting him, he is defending him, and probably Pragnanatha afraid about that pawn, that he can be really active in the future, black can push him, and that is why I think he played king g3 here. You know, when you are playing against world champion, probably not that you are happy with draw, but there is one thing. It's much more safer move than king e4, at least on the first look. Why? Because when you play king g3, and then after that knight g5, what happened in the game, you will capture the pawn, and you will get rid from only chance for black to win the game. Without that pawn, he can't win the game. Definitely, black can't win the game. So if you play king e4, which is far away more logical move here, to give support to your pawns, and some average player will play here king e4 definitely, because everyone knows that the king should give some support to the pawns, and after that maybe the game can go like this and we can push the pawns, and now king f3 is better than knight f4 at the moment, because still we can push the pawns in the future, so we don't need to keep the king, because the king did his job. The rook is not anymore here and nobody can take our pawn, and then we can just push the pawn. And after rook f7, knight f4. Why now knight f4? Because we want to secure some space for our king. We have great position for attack, and our pawns can go up, or maybe we don't need to push them. We don't need to make easier this position for black, because the rooks are completely stuck. They must stay there and to wait the moment when white will push the pawns. But white don't need to rush with that. He can just improve position and then in right moments to push the pawns, and this position should be winning for white. Okay, but now we know probably why king g3 in this moment for Pragnanada. This is much more safer move and he can't lose. Okay, I don't want to say that Pragnanada go for draw. Never. I don't think that he go for draw in this moment. He just want to be sure that he can't lose the game. That is the point of that move. Because of that, rook h6 and after that knight g5, only chance for black. This is pass pawn, but now he can't go anywhere. Okay, he gave that pawn on c5, but now he captured the pawn on h7. And after now practically they enter in totally draw position after knight f6, black exchange here. I mean he sacrificed the rook, but this is kind of exchange, and after that this is completely draw position now. No one can win. Of course, white has some chance here, but with some normal moves from black side, and on the opposite side is world champion, so of course we can expect that he will play at least on that level. This is completely draw. So I will go faster now because neither side can't do anything. So they push the pawns maybe, and after rook h5, first we close that 5th rank, but he can use 6th rank, and if he put his pawn on b6, nobody can attack that pawn. Only one attacker could be, and that is the king, but we can defend that with the rook, and the king probably will stay there somewhere near to the pawn to protect that pawn to not go up. Okay, so king d5, king e7, and then he cut off a little bit the king, but nothing seriously. And in some moment white sacrificed the pawn on c2, but in return again he captured the pawn on b7, so still he has maybe chance, but probably without any serious chance here to win the game. So he can go with the pawn on 7th rank. This is of course white square, and with light square bishop it's easy to put a pawn on light square, but after that he must stop because black can use his king and the rook to stop that pawn to go to promotion. Okay, so they play a couple of moves here, nothing special, and of course the king must stay there and to protect that pawn from promotion. And then a couple of checks, nothing special, king h5, and finally Magnus sacrifice here. And after that they enter in some pawn endgame, but still it's totally draw because white doesn't have chance here for any counterattack or to win the game. So Pragnanada try with some triangle, but also black can do the triangle, but no, he decided to just play and to put the king on some maybe worse position, but still if white push the pawn and if they exchange, nothing will happen really because this is totally draw. Okay, and after that I must tell you that Magnus Carlsen applaud to the Pragnanada, because I think Pragnanada played really open game, and he didn't have any fear from world champion, and he tried. He gave his best. I think he really tried with some sacrifice here and a couple of sacrifices. So first rook h5, that was great move, and after that he sacrificed his rook on d7, just to find that. So rook d7, that was also important moment in the game when he did it, and he has some chance here to win the game, but unfortunate for him, he didn't use in some moment the best move. I mean, he didn't play that. He didn't play king e4. He played king g3. Tough decision, of course, when you're playing against the world champion, what to play. Thank you. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe. Tell me your opinion. Please write some comments. And if you want, I can do the video with some other things with the same idea, with that h4 or h5. Depends which color we will use to watch. Okay, bye bye.